So, if you are one of those who believe that the MCU can become even greater, you are in the right place. Get ready to dive into the world of Miles Morales and understand why he's exactly what Marvel needs to take their stories to the next level. Want to know more? Let's unravel this enigma together and discover what the future holds for the MCU with the arrival of this new hero. Just imagine you're watching Spider-Man, No Way Home, and suddenly a comment from Electro makes your eyes light up. He mentions the existence of a black Spider-Man somewhere. This seemingly subtle detail is actually a big indication that Miles Morales is already part of the Marvel multiverse. It even seems like one of those hidden clues in mystery films that only the most attentive notice. Marvel knows better than anyone else how to plant these seeds for fans to water with theories, right? We know that the Marvel multiverse, or MCU, whatever you prefer, is vast and full of possibilities. With this comment from Electro, fans' gears started turning. Could this be the arrival of Miles Morales in the MCU? After all, Miles Spider-Man has already been successful in various media, from comics to award-winning animations. When a hint like this appears, Marvel is not just suggesting, but practically confirming that something big is coming. They know what they are doing. And you know what's most interesting? These references are like Easter eggs that make fans vibrate. They create a direct connection between viewers and the vast universe of comics and other adaptations. Marvel is a master at creating these types of expectations because they know that the more clues they drop, the more fans will be excited for what's to come. So, when a character like Miles Morales is mentioned, even in a subtle way, fans already know. It's time to prepare their hearts for new emotions. And speaking of emotions, let's explore a little more about what the future might hold for him, shall we? Now, let's talk about Feast, an organization that, for those who know Spider-Man comics well, is already a familiar name. In the Marvel Universe, Feast is not just an ordinary shelter. It is a place where lives are transformed. In Spider-Man games and comics, this institution plays a vital role, especially when we talk about Miles Morales. It is in this environment that he begins to realize the importance of being a hero for the community. And what does this have to do with the MCU? It could be a clue to the role that Feast could play in the films. Just imagine the scene. Miles Morales, a young man full of potential, finds refuge and purpose at Feast. There, he sees the real impact of community work, helping those who need it most. This introduction into the MCU could create a perfect path for the character's evolution, bringing a more human and realistic touch to the hero's universe. And, of course, introducing Feast into the films would be a way to further connect audiences with the character's roots, something Marvel loves to do. Furthermore, Feast is fertile ground for exploring different narratives. Think about the number of stories that can emerge from an environment like this. From small missions to large adventures, each interaction there can shape Miles Morales in a unique way. Marvel, which has surprised us so many times with its attention to detail, can use Feast as a foundation to weave together new stories, characters, and plots. And if you think that's interesting, just wait until you see how these potential plots can develop. Speaking of potential plots, Miles Morales' entry into the MCU opens up an infinite range of possibilities. Imagine a scenario where he crosses paths with iconic characters like Norman Osborn, who we already know, but who could have a very different role in this version of the Marvel Universe. Norman would not only be the traditional villain, but could become an ambiguous figure, sometimes helping, sometimes hindering Miles on his journey. Have you ever thought about the tension and twists this would bring to the big screen? Another intriguing possibility is how the MCU could explore the dynamic between Miles and Peter Parker. Many fans would love to see Miles learn from Peter, but also bring his own unique and innovative spin to Spider-Man's legacy. Marvel has always known how to balance tradition and innovation, and this would be no different. Miles could face unprecedented challenges, perhaps even villains from the multiverse that only he could defeat, showing that, although he is a new hero, he has a lot to add to the MCU. And we can't forget the impact this introduction would have on fans. Seeing Miles Morales develop, perhaps even facing complex moral dilemmas and learning to use his powers in creative ways, would bring a new layer of depth to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. After all, it's not just about epic battles, but about personal growth and the values that each hero carries with them. And while we think about how this all fits together, It's worth remembering an even deeper connection Miles has to the Marvel Universe, the Ultimate Universe. The interesting thing about Miles Morales is that he comes from the Ultimate Universe, an alternative Marvel line that allowed the creation of new stories and versions of already known characters. This universe, known for its more contemporary and realistic approach, strongly influenced the MCU. In the Ultimate Universe, Miles takes on the mantle of Spider-Man after Peter Parker's death, which brings a new perspective to the hero's legacy. When we look at the MCU, we see several influences from this universe, which makes Miles' arrival almost inevitable. The connection to the Ultimate Universe isn't just limited to Miles' origin, but also to the way the stories are told. The MCU has already shown that it likes to innovate and surprise, and bringing elements from the Ultimate Universe is a way to keep the public engaged. Anyone who follows Miles' adventures in the comics knows that he brings a unique energy, combining responsibility with the typical lightness of a teenager. It is this mix that could add a new dynamic to Marvel films, further expanding the concept of the multiverse. Additionally, the Ultimate Universe served as a testing ground for many ideas that would later be adapted into films. Therefore, the inclusion of Miles Morales in the MCU could be seen as a celebration of these stories and an acknowledgement of the impact they had on fans. Marvel has always been excellent at weaving connections and creating arcs that build on each other, and that's exactly what they could do with Miles. Now, with so many clues indicating his arrival, the question remains: what does the future hold for Miles Morales in the MCU? And the future of Miles Morales in the MCU? Well, if we follow all the clues that Marvel has already left, everything points to its triumphant entry into films. Imagining Miles as Peter Parker's protege is almost irresistible. Think about the training possibilities, the mentor-mentee dynamic that could develop. Peter, already an experienced hero, passes the baton to Miles, thus creating a new generation of heroes. This relationship would have everything to be exciting and captivating, bringing freshness to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The most interesting thing is that Miles Morales has the potential to attract an even larger audience to the MCU, connecting new generations to the franchise. With his unique powers such as invisibility and poison, Miles would bring a new variety of abilities to the Avengers arsenal. Just imagine the new adventures he could have, the new villains he could face, and the alliances he could form. This type of evolution is what keeps Marvel always relevant and innovative, pushing the limits of how heroes are represented. With all these elements, there is no doubt that Miles Morales would bring new vigor to the MCU. Fans, always eager for news, will certainly love following the development of this young hero. After all, seeing Miles transition from an ordinary teenager to a superhero is something that inspires and resonates with many of us. And while we wait to see what this transition will be like, one thing is certain: Marvel has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, and Miles Morales is one of the most promising. Now it's time to keep an eye out and wait for what the future holds. Miles Morales' journey in the MCU promises to be a spectacle in itself. It's a chance to experience the rise of a new hero, see the impact of his actions, and cheer on his achievements as he shapes his own legacy. But the real question is, are you ready to be part of this new era? How can Miles' arrival inspire you to embrace new challenges and see the world with a fresh perspective? Don't miss the opportunity to follow this revolution in the UCM up close. If you're as excited as we are to see how Miles Morales will transform the Marvel Universe, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. Let's explore this new phase together and discover what the future holds for our favorite heroes.